Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero podcast, the show where I cover the least in the best way possible. I'm your host, Jason Wells. Today is Wednesday, December 11th. Week 14 is done. Honestly, not that great of a week of football, but we only have a few weeks left, and I can't call any week of NFL football really a bad week. But there are some smelly matchups. There are some matchups that when I do the Week 14 recap, I literally have no notes for, because they were boring matchups, but we're getting closer to draft time, and next week is, I think, when I'm going to start talking about the NFL draft, but we got the whole Week 14 to recap here. I'm going to do the last week of college football highlights. Conference championship games happened. It was a good week of college football. The college football playoff is set. But yeah, this episode, recapping the NFL week, recapping this college football conference championship week. Little bit of Heisman talk, I guess, but going to be another good episode. Let's get into it. And I guess we'll start right off with the college football highlights here. Starting off with Timothy Chalamet. Knows ball, is a ball knower. Didn't think I would ever be bringing up Timothy Chalamet on this podcast, but here we are. Yeah, he was the guest picker on College Game Day, was the only one to pick the MAC champion, which is the Ohio Bobcats. Does that sound right? I know it's the Bobcats. It might not be Ohio. They played Miami of Ohio, but Timothy Chalamet is a ball knower. ASU wins their conference behind the work of running back Cam Skattebo. 208 total yards for him, 3 TDs on only 18 total touches. After the game, says he's the best running back in the country. That's just false. He has 1,000 less yards than Ashton Jeanty on the season. Cam Skattebo, though, is a very good running back. Interested to see what he can do at the NFL level. Georgia beats Texas in the SEC championship with backup Gunnar Stockton. Carson Beck leaves the game, and honestly, it was the best thing for Georgia. Gunnar Stockton gave them a little bit of juice at the end of the game, but really my main takeaway in this is Texas should have won this game if it wasn't for, I don't know if it was a linebacker or another DB, but there is that pick towards the end of the game, and that Texas DB would have been a pick six if his teammate, instead of pointing out the guys down the field, noticed the only other person who could have tackled him. Just a little bit of a block would have been a pick six. Texas would have been up. The game wouldn't have went to overtime, but very exciting game. Interested to see how Georgia and Gunnar Stockton play the rest of the way. A lot of Florida State fans complaining about, like, oh, they're making it with their backup quarterback. They looked better than they did with their starting quarterback, and that's the difference. Next note up here, James Franklin now falls to 0-12 against AP top 5 opponents. Yes, they lose to Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. Was a close game. Drew Aller, maybe QB1, I don't know. We have a long time to talk about this draft class and the QB prospects and whatnot. But Oregon now gets the bye, and they get to face off against Tennessee or Ohio State, while Penn State plays SMU in the first round and then Boise State in the second round if they win. Sounds like Penn State losing was probably the best thing for them, and Oregon, maybe reseeding this college football playoff makes way more sense, but we're in year one of it. Maybe they do it next year, but Oregon kind of getting hosed. They are the best team in the country. I still think that they will make the semifinals, definitely the finals, but we shall see. And then finally, the Heisman finalists have been announced, obviously. Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty, those are the front runners right now, but the other two getting the nod. We have Cam Ward out of Miami and Dylan Gabriel, Oregon's quarterback. it should be Travis Hunter's award. I am very interested to see the split of votes for the ballot, because it's not just, oh, you pick your winner, you make the ballot. If someone doesn't have Travis Hunter or Ashton Jeanty as 1-2 in their ballots should get taken away. But those are the, I don't even know what week we're on, but the conference championship highlights. Next week, I will unveil my top 15 draft prospects for the 2025 draft instead of doing college football highlights, because college football is basically done now. We're on the bowl season. College football playoffs, a little bit of a different story, but that is it for college football, essentially. And let's get right into this Week 14 NFL recap. Starting off with the game we watched most recently, Monday Night Football, Bengals at Cowboys, Bengals 27, Cowboys 20. This was the Simpsons game. Ralph Wiggum didn't end my fantasy playoff hopes because I was already out, but I was going to win the week. And Ralph Wiggum ended up scoring that touchdown late, breaking my heart. I had to still pay Cameron $20. Obviously, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the Simpsons, or the NFL put on like a Simpsons broadcast, so like Homer and Bart and Lisa and Marge and all of the cast of characters were like in the game. It's like an animation thing. It was weird. I don't know why the NFL does it. I understand when they did Toy Story and when they did like the SpongeBob and the Nickelodeon, because like it's a way to get like kids engaged in the game. Doing it with Simpsons characters when the primary audience is who's already watching the game, like the Simpsons isn't a children's TV show. So that was a bit weird to me. Cool to see the clips and whatever, but yeah, Simpsons broadcast. But this game should have ended a lot differently. The Bengals got extremely lucky, so they go to punt the ball away. Punt gets blocked, tipped, because the ball still went across the line of scrimmage. And I think it was Armani Oruwariye decided to try to scoop up the ball to get a few extra yards instead of just letting the ball be dead, have it be the Cowboys' possession, and the Cowboys would have had a chance to win the game late. But no, he decides to touch the ball, doesn't end up scooping the ball up. Bengals get the ball back, and then throw to Chase. Chase makes a guy miss. Touchdown. That's the ball game. Unbelievable way to end that game, but it's a very fitting way for the Cowboys to lose that game. But wasn't a great game, all things considered, but we have to talk about Ja'Marr Chase. By far the best wide receiver in the NFL this year. He is on pace to win the Triple Crown, and that's most receptions, most yards, and most TDs. He has 93 catches for 1,319 yards and 15 touchdowns so far on the season. And it is his fifth career game of at least 10 catches, 175 yards, and 2 TDs. No one has more in their career. Ja'Marr Chase is only 24 years old. Again, we're talking about Ja'Marr Chase is one of the best receivers in the league. I would say he's easily top 3, definitely top 2. I personally would not put him above Justin Jefferson just yet, because the stuff Justin Jefferson has been doing since the start of his career has been like unparalleled so far. And Ja'Marr Chase is absolutely incredible. But again, those two LSU products, and the Bengals are just kicking themselves for not paying this man in the offseason, where they could have got him around the Justin Jefferson deal at the $35-36 million mark. If I'm Ja'Marr Chase, I'm asking for 40. I don't know how the Bengals can say no to whatever he wants at this point, but Ja'Marr Chase is going to reset that wide receiver market and reset it by a ton. Wide receiver money is getting absolutely crazy right now, but Ja'Marr deserves every single penny. He is one of the most exciting people to watch on the Bengals every single week. Joe Burrow puts up another great performance too. Obviously can't win the MVP when your team only has 5 wins on the season, but he is playing unbelievably good football. Chase Brown, Canadian, another good game in this one too. 58 yards rushing, also added 6 catches for 65 yards and a TD. Also, the Bengals' offense is great. Their defense, not looking good at all. They got lots of injuries that they're dealing with. The defense hasn't looked good the whole season, so good for them to get a win. Gives Bengals fans a little bit of hope. I saw way too many people being like, oh, the Bengals can sneak into the playoffs still, and it's like, let's pump the brakes. Like, I think there's a chance Miami could sneak into the playoffs still, but like, it's like a 10% chance, and I really don't think that we will. But the Bengals, definitely, it's like, if I think we have a 10% chance, like the Bengals have like a 1.5% chance to make the playoffs. And hopefully this doesn't blow back in my face. Cowboys on the other side, just simply not good enough. Rico Dowdle was good enough. Rico Dowdle had a terrific game, 18 carries, 131 yards, 7.3 average. And then they just kind of stopped running the football with him. I don't know why. Like, when your running game is that effective and that good against, again, the Bengals defense absolutely sucks. Keep doing what's working, and they chose to stop that. Again, the Cowboys aren't a serious team. I was shocked. I had a parlay going where I was like, okay, like Burrow yards, Chase yards, CeeDee Lamb receptions. I think Jamar Chase touchdown too. And I was like, okay, this should hit. I feel relatively confident with this. And Micah Parsons, no sacks in this one. And I'm not obviously blaming Micah Parsons and, oh, he should have been better, blah, blah, blah. But this Bengals offensive line fucking sucks. And the fact that he didn't get a sack in this one really disappoints me, but it more disappoints me financially more than watching him, because I know he's a really good football player. Yeah, just overall wasn't a great game. Bengals do come away with the win, but again, that blocked punt was absolutely bailed them out. But we can keep going all the way back to Thursday Night Football. Packers 31, Lions 34. I did my blind recap, and I was like, oh, the Lions' injuries were too much to overcome, and the Packers steal away a division win, and blah, blah, blah. The Lions just keep winning, man. I don't understand. Like, they were so injured, multiple people missing in this game. Aleem McNeil, their best defensive player, when Aiden Hutchinson isn't on the field. He also leaves the game with a concussion. And that left them with basically a bunch of practice squad guys who I had never heard of. Shout out to Ezekiel Turner. He made a few key stops and tackles and big plays in this one, and I've never even heard of the guy. So shout out to him. But the Lions, again, you can't beat them. And Dan Campbell, don't ever change. Keep going for it on fourth down, because it works. Trust your guys. Trust on who you have out there to be able to do what they need to do. I think they converted 4 of 5 or 3 of 4. I know they missed one, and people were like, oh, that was such a bad, but the Lions are just so good. Shout out to Aaron Glenn for, again, getting this defense to, I mean, they let up 31 points, but there's a few penalties and things that got the missed fourth down conversion that put the Packers in scoring range pretty easily. But Aaron Glenn puts his defense in positions to win constantly. And he is flying up my head coaching rankings of guys who should get a job. He will absolutely get a job. I'm not sure where. Again, Sonic and Knuckles, bit of a quiet day for them, but still getting relatively involved. Jared Goff had a good day. But really, I got to talk about Tim Patrick. And if you don't know the name Tim Patrick, that's fine. He hasn't really played a ton of football over the last few years. He had a few pretty decent years in Denver in 2020 and 2021 with over 700 yards in each season. And then, boom, ACL tear 2022, out for the season. It's like, okay, that sucks. He'll come back 2023. He'll be stronger. He'll be better. Exact same thing happens. He misses 2 full seasons of football. He signs on with the Lions in the offseason, and he caught his first touchdown pass in 3 years. Yeah, his first touchdown pass since 2021. Absolutely great, and he ended up with 2 touchdown catches on the day. I love stories like this where guys who kind of an afterthought, multiple injuries, and it's like, you hope they get back to it. And it's good to see Tim Patrick play good football again, because he's a productive, he's a good player. Again, he's not one of these stars in the league or like a very good wide receiver, but he's solid, and you just need solid, dependable players on your team when you are contending. And the Lions having a guy like Tim Patrick, who they feel like they can rely on some of these big key moments, it's huge. So shout out to Tim Patrick for getting his first touchdown in over 3 years. Absolutely incredible. Packers on the other side. Like, if you can't beat the Lions when they're that down bad, that many injuries, when are you ever going to beat them? And there was a lot of Packers fans after the game complaining about missed calls and penalties. And again, if you blame the refs in a 60-minute football game and that's the reason you lost, you're just a loser. It's as simple as that. Blaming the refs is one of the... what's the word for it? Like childish things you can do, I guess. And that's the thing. The penalties, they matched up. They weren't even like, oh, the Packers had 12 penalties to the Lions too. I'm pretty sure it was like 7 towards the Packers, 6 towards the Lions, or something in that range. The yardage also matched up. You can't blame penalties. You just simply can't on a game. The Packers just weren't good enough. It's as simple as that. A lot of people mad that Jaden Reed put up a big fat 0 across the stat sheet because they relied on him for some key fantasy matchups. Again, weird not getting one of your best weapons involved whatsoever, but I'm not going to doubt Matt LaFleur. He has been a very good coach for a very long time. Christian Watson, I think, is averaging like 30 yards a catch over his last 3 games or something crazy like that. Shout out Christian Watson, I guess. Josh Jacobs, 3 touchdowns in this one. He's having a very good season for the Packers. But I know, again, the Packers, they're a good team. They're a good team, but the Lions are just clearly in a different class from them right now. And once the Lions start getting these pieces back on defense, they're going to be a very, very, very tough team to beat. And I'll be interested to see if anyone does beat them. Next game up here, Falcons 21, Vikings 42. The Vikings just went off. It was crazy. Sam Darnold, 22 of 28, 347 yards, 5 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, 7 catches, 132 yards, 2 TDs. Jordan Addison, 8 catches, 133 yards, 3 touchdowns. This offense is so hard to stop. They have so many weapons everywhere. Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Aaron Jones is a very good running back. Their offensive line is very solid, even though Darisaw is out for the rest of the season, but he's been out for the rest of the season. Cam Robinson has been a very good pickup for them, but this begs the question. Sam Darnold MVP? No, who are we kidding? He's not going to win MVP. I think that's Josh Allen's award, and we'll talk about Josh Allen in a little bit, but Sam Darnold is going to get an absolute bag from some QB-needy team this season, and I don't blame them. He has looked terrific. And I had my doubts, and I was like, I don't know how much you can trust a contending team going into the playoffs with Sam Darnold as their quarterback, and deep in the back of my mind, I still do have those concerns. It's like, it's Sam Darnold. We've seen 5 years of below average QB play from him to warrant not having that trust, but he's been playing such good football, and he had that down stretch a few weeks ago where the turnovers, and it's just like it wasn't looking good, and he's gotten right back on track, and that's the signs of a good team and a good coach to get. It's like, okay, Sam, like, you've kind of had your ups and downs the last few weeks, like, but we trust you. You're good. And he's just rolling. This Vikings team looks incredible, and I won't give them a ton of credit because the Falcons they're a dumpster fire right now. There's no other words to really describe it, but what the Vikings are doing and the season that they are having is absolutely incredible, and I don't know where Sam Darnold goes next year. I'll try to predict that in the offseason, I guess, but J.J. McCarthy is going into one of the best situations for a young QB to be in next year. I don't know who their backup. Maybe Daniel Jones will stick around, be their backup. I have no idea, but I'm very interested to see what J.J. McCarthy can do. And I was kind of low on J.J. McCarthy coming out of the draft, but he has the tools and he has the things that can make him a good QB in this league. And seeing what KOC just did with Sam Darnold, I got a lot of faith that he can do the same things with J.J. McCarthy. Falcons on the other side, though. Kirk Cousins, 0 touchdowns in the last month of football. Also has 8 interceptions in that last month of football. He can't move. It's as simple as that. He was already not a very mobile guy before his Achilles injury, and post the Achilles injury, he's just a statue. It limits so much what the Falcons can do on offense and makes them so much more predictable when he can't run and move under center and run these bootlegs, or even run to the right and use his right leg to really plant and use and generate power off of. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like, oh, it's time to put Michael Penix in, because, like, what's the point? Like, really? I guess the point is, you have to win the division and make playoffs, but I don't know. That QB deal is looking terrible that they gave him. They do have an out, but I think that out is in year 2. I was talking about maybe like, people would trade for Kirk Cousins. I don't know who would trade for Kirk Cousins in that contract. It'll be tough, but all of the people, including myself, who was like Michael Penix at pick 9, was it pick 8? Yeah, I think it was pick 8. Michael Penix at pick 8. What are you doing? That's a terrible pick. You should have picked a defensive player. You should have picked maybe another weapon or blah, blah, blah. Now it looks like they at least have a succession plan after Kirk Cousins. Because, like, if they wouldn't have drafted Penix and they would have had Kirk, and this is what Kirk is giving you kind of the last half of the season, I would be extremely worried if I was Terry Fontenot, their GM, to be like, I might get fired now. But they have their successor, hopefully, and we'll see what he can do. Would be tough to put him in a game. I think Kirk still deserves a little bit of a longer leash just to, like, feel it out. Maybe we'll see. But once they get, like, eliminated officially from playoffs, and that might come down to the wire because that division is very close. I think the Bucs have a game up on them right now. But the Falcons do have the 2 division wins over the Bucs, so if they keep it relatively close, I don't know. But if they get eliminated and it's Week 18, Kirk should not be starting. I would love to see what Michael Penix can do in Week 18, but we're a few weeks away from that. So until then, let's keep going. Next game up here, Saints 14, Giants 11. This is one of these games where, what do I have to talk about in this one? The Saints won. Cool. Congrats. 5 wins on the season. Sure. Darren Rizzi yelled at his punter. Yeah. Derek Carr broke his left hand, his non-throwing hand. Yeah, those are my notes for the Saints. I really have nothing else to say. Like, really. 5 wins, and I do give Darren Rizzi a lot of credit for... Is that his 3rd win? I think he's 3-1 since becoming the head coach. So shout out to Darren Rizzi, I guess. His team is playing hard for him. That's what you like to see. I'd be interested if he gets retained as like whoever comes in to be the head coach. If they're like, hey, I want to keep you as my special teams guy. I have no idea. I guess we'll see. Giants on the other side. Pre-game, there was a plane flying around saying, Mr. Mara, enough. Please fix this dumpster fire. Changes are coming. Definitely the Giants, as of right now, have the first overall pick, but I think if both them and the Raiders lose out, the Raiders get the first overall pick because of strength of schedule. I think that's how it works anyways. I have no idea, but The Giants had a field goal at the end of the game to send this game to overtime. It gets blocked. Again, shout out to Darren Rizzi. Teams can't kick field goals against his Saints defense, or I guess special teams unit. I'm very interested, and I should actually look up how many blocked kicks or missed kicks teams have had the Saints since Darren Rizzi has been the head coach, because it would be interesting. But yeah, Graham Gano misses that kick gets blocked, tipped, whatever. The Giants fans cheer. I would too if I was desperately looking for my franchise QB, and a win would have done a whole lot of bad for the Giants. But yeah, Giants fans are cheering. Drew Lock did his part for the tank job too. Started the game 0 for 8. That's not good. And even there was a clip that I saw of him scrambling, trying to get a first down, and he had so much green grass in front of him, would have been an easy first down, and he just decided to take a 90-degree turn. I'm going right, and he, again, came up short, ran right into a defender instead of taking all the green grass that was in front of him. It's really a nothing game. Like, it truly is a nothing game. Giants, again, they're hoping for one of these QBs. I think it's as easy as that. We can keep going though. Jags 10, Titans 6. Another game that means absolutely nothing in terms of anything NFL related. Both of these teams are hoping for top 5 picks in the league, or in the NFL draft, I should say. Mac Jones gets a win. Congrats, I guess. The Titans really just kind of shot themselves in the foot. There was a few misplays by a few people. Will Levis missed Chigo Okonkwo wide open in the end zone, and instead of throwing it to him on the shorter route, he threw it to the guy directly behind him who was blanketed by a defensive back. Would have been an easy touchdown. Calvin Ridley really fucked up too. I think it was like 3rd and short. He caught the ball short of the sticks, and instead of like trying to make a move to get the first down, he ran out of bounds like 2 yards short, and then they had to go for it on 4th down, and they didn't convert the 4th down. But two teams that just flat out aren't good. Easy as that. Jags fans, who I think they did have the first overall pick going into Sunday, but obviously win this game. I think they now pick 5th. Which isn't a bad thing in this draft. There is obviously, we expect a couple QBs to go in the top 5, whether that's Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, maybe Drew Aller. I'm going to start talking about Drew Aller in a couple weeks here, especially if he has some good college football playoff games. But after QBs, and I don't really like any of the QBs anyways, but the Jags should be in play for guys like Travis Hunter, guys like Mason Graham, guys like Will Johnson, and having the 5th overall pick still puts you at play for at least one of those guys right now. The Jags just can't win any more games. I don't really expect them to. They do have one more game against, I think they play the Raiders and the Titans actually, so that'll be very interesting to see how this really, there's so many bad teams in the league right now, so the top 10 really could all change within weeks, basically, all depending on who wins and who loses and stuff. But right now, as long as they're in the top 5 and you don't need a quarterback, you will be picking one of these blue chip players atop the draft. But yeah, nothing much really to say. We can keep going here. Raiders 13, Bucks 28. The Bucks, again, they played well enough. They weren't great, but again, they played well enough. Baker had a Baker-esque performance, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Bucky Irving went into the game questionable, I think with a hip injury, and left the game almost immediately. Again, sucks for fantasy football, but Rachaad White came in his absence. I think he had 2 touchdowns on the day. Yeah, 2 touchdowns on the day, 109 total yards. Good day for Rachaad White. I really want to see what Sean Tucker does. in general. I don't know when. Was he drafted 2 years ago? Does it say when he was drafted? He was drafted in the 2023 draft, so he still has 2 more years left on his deal. But again, in Sean Tucker's limited work, he had 3 carries for 47 yards. Sean Tucker might be a really good running back. He just needs more opportunities, and maybe if they sit Bucky Irving this week to let him get his rest. What am I trying to say? Let Bucky Irving get his rest. Let Sean Tucker and Rachaad White split that backfield. We'll see how that goes, but really not a ton to say in this game. The Bucks, who are the far better team, did exactly what they needed to do in this one, and they took care of business. Raiders on the other side, not a ton to really say. Shout out to Brock Bowers for now holding the rookie tight end receptions record, taken away from Sam Laporta from just a season ago. Again, if you saw my Instagram clip, if you saw my TikTok clip, Brock Bowers is having an all-pro season and deserves all the recognition. Fuck off with Jaden Daniels. Fuck off with Bo Nix. Brock Bowers is the offensive rookie of the year. Fight with yourselves. Brock Bowers is the offensive rookie of the year. He will, I don't care what actually gets voted on. Brock Bowers is the offensive rookie of the year. Other than that, for the Raiders, Jacoby Myers, very good receiver. Shocked that the Patriots let him walk, but he continues to play well. Michael Mayer got involved at their 2023 second-round pick. And again, I'm very interested to see because I'm expecting Antonio Pierce to get fired, that whoever the offense coordinator is or head coach comes in, how they will use these 2 tight ends. Because again, having 2 dynamic tight ends is definitely something that has worked. Look at those Patriots teams with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. Something to look for anyways. I talked about Sincere McCormick a little bit on Friday's show. He had 15 carries for 78 yards for 5.2 yards a pop. Looks like he might be the Raiders running back 1, at least for the rest of the season. We'll see how, obviously, the rest of the year, or whole offseason, whatever plays out, because the Raiders definitely need to add some kind of running backs to that room. Aiden O'Connell leaves in an air cast on a cart. Apparently it's only a bone bruise, and he might be playing this weekend. I don't want to say it's embarrassing to leave on a cart in an air cast and then have your injury only be a bone bruise, but it's a little embarrassing. Desmond Ridder comes in, plays like Desmond Ridder. We might get a Desmond Ridder revenge game next week against the Falcons. Stay tuned for that, maybe, I guess. But either way, we can move on from the Raiders. I spent way too long on the Raiders, so we can keep going here. Browns 14, Steelers 27. No George Pickens for the Steelers in this one. He was a late scratch hamstring injury, and it looks like he's doubtful for next week as well. But it didn't matter whatsoever. The Steelers continue to roll. The offense looked fine. Russ looked like Russ. He made his plays when he had to. A couple big, nice catches from Mike Williams. Pat Freiermuth played well. Again, this Steelers offense is good. They're not great. They're not anything special. This is a very solid offense. I think it's as easy as that to say they should not wow anyone, but this defense on the other side, this defense continues to play very, very well. 2 interceptions from them in this one. 3 sacks on the day. 2 from old man Cam Hayward, who I was ready to kind of write Cam Hayward off at the start of this season. I was like, Keanu Benton, who did he have? Yeah, he had an interception in this one, so shout out to Keanu Benton, but I thought Keanu Benton was going to take a more prominent role in this defense while Hayward and Larry Ogunjobi maybe rotate in, but Hayward has... It's tough to say he should be the defensive player of the year because a guy like TJ Watt exists and he is such a focal point for any offense to game plan around because TJ Watt is so good. But TJ Watt for like TJ Watt seasons is not having that great of a year to his standards. Right now, I think he is the favorite for defensive player of the year, which, like, I guess, sure. But Cam Hayward definitely deserves a mention in that category, at least in my opinion. He's now, so 2 sacks in this one, that brings him up to 8 on the season. I think that's only 3 or 3.5 behind TJ Watt on the year. He's playing really, really good football and definitely deserves a mention on how good this defense has been playing. Browns on the other side. Yeah, like you didn't play. You didn't play well. Jameis, after his incredible Monday night performance, came back down to earth, as Jameis usually does. 2 TDs, but 2 interceptions, as again, this man was the 30 for 30 QB in 2019. 30 interceptions, 30 touchdown passes. We'll probably never see something like that again. But, yeah, Jameis is whatever. Jerry Jeudy is now 4th in the NFL in receiving yards. That's just, I don't know, that's really funny to me. But really, the story in this one is Kadarius Toney is an idiot. And I think he only played 2 snaps for the Browns. There were 2 special team snaps. One was, again, he was on punt return. Fair catch, catches the ball, starts taunting the Steelers down multiple scores. Penalty flag, backs them up. Kind of, like, again, puts them in way worse territory than they should have been in. And then his second snap of the game, muff punt, fumble recovery by the Steelers, and he has now been cut. The fall off of Kadarius Toney since that Chiefs Super Bowl win against the Eagles has been fast, rapid. Like I honestly thought that Kadarius Toney should have won the Super Bowl MVP against the Chiefs. Like, he was such a difference maker for them in that game. And now he's going to be out of the league. I think this was probably his last chance to maybe stick on with someone. And I don't know why you would keep him around. He's, again, the Browns cut him. I don't know why another team would pick him up at this point. It's crazy. It's crazy that he can go from, like, Super Bowl hero to out of the league in 2 years, but that's just how volatile the NFL is. And we'll move on to the next game here. Panthers 16, Eagles 22. I guess we'll start off with some positive things for the Eagles. Saquon Barkley continues to do his thing. 20 rushes, 124 yards. No touchdowns on the game for him in this one because, of course, Jalen Hurts, they get to the 1 yard line, and Jalen Hurts obviously steals that TD. Saquon has been tackled at the 1 11 times this season, and Jalen Hurts has 10 TDs to Saquon's 0 in those situations. Saquon could be running away with the MVP if, like, even just like half of those Jalen Hurts, like, tush push QB sneaks. Because how many touchdowns does Saquon have on the season right now? Saquon has 13 total touchdowns on the season. He could easily be at 20 touchdowns right now and just over 1,600 yards rushing anyways on the year. That's also an Eagles record, breaking LaShawn McCoy's record. Again, Saquon's having a terrific, incredible year, but there was a lot of people upset after this one, and mainly A.J. Brown, who was frankly asked, it's like, oh, like, what's the issue with, like, and he just straight up called passing. Passing is the issue. And I get he can be frustrated. He's not getting used a bunch, but when you're running the football effectively, it's pretty good. But again, I don't think that Jalen Hurts is that good of a quarterback. I don't think that Nick Sirianni is that good of a coach. And games like this against the lowly Panthers, where they honestly should have won, if it wasn't for that Xavier Legette drop. Also, I think it's Legette. I've been saying Leggett for, I think, basically since, like, draft season, but Pretty sure it's Liget. That's what the broadcasts say anyways. Either way, I digress. But if it weren't for that drop, the Eagles were going to lose this game. And between bad offensive coaching and just, again, for some reason, it's let's save Saquon's energy until the second half instead of just like, okay, dominate them with the run game. I don't know why it's so complicated for the Eagles to just dominate bad teams, but they do. Their defense played well. Their defense usually plays well. Cooper DeJean's kryptonite might be old white receivers because Adam Thielen absolutely cooked that man. Quinyon Mitchell's still playing well, but we'll talk about the Panthers on the other side. Bryce Young looks fantastic. He looks everything like the number one overall pick, like he was billed to be. Dave Canales is, again, he's the QB whisperer. He turned Gino's career around. He turned Baker's career around. And now it looks like he's turning Bryce Young's very young career around. And I'm very interested to see what they do next year. Their offensive line held up very well against this very good Eagles defense and front seven. Robert Hunt, who I miss dearly in the Dolphins run game. Again, stopping Jalen Carter is very hard. He usually gets double teamed, and Robert Hunt held his own one-on-one quite a bit of the time. But yeah, let's get Bryce some real weapons in this one. But yeah, shout out to Adam Thielen, 9 catches, 102 yards. Shout out Chuba Hubbard, 26 carries, 92 rush yards. He continues to have a very, very good season. I think he's past 1,000 yards in the rushing on the season right now. I don't know when the last time there's been a Canadian 1,000-yard rusher. Off the top of my head, I can't even think of any Canadian running backs who were that good. But yeah, Chuba Hubbard continues to do their thing. Bryce Young continues to look great. Unfortunately, Jonathan Brooks re-tears his ACL that he tore at Texas in November of last year. Long road of recovery again for him. Absolutely sucks. He was looking pretty good, looking pretty explosive, but again, non-contact injury too on the knee. People were saying it's they rushed him back. They absolutely did not rush him back. There's a lot of pro athletes right now who are coming back from ACL surgeries after 8 months. By the time Brooks got back, it had been over a year, and that 10 to 12 month period is when usually pro athletes come back and they're fully back into the swing of things. So no, the Panthers did not rush Jonathan Brooks back, but it is unfortunate that he did tear it again. Hopefully he comes back better, stronger than ever. I guess we'll see, but yeah, I think that's it for the Panthers. I guess one more thing, this Panthers defense is not very good. They should have been exploited easily in all facets, and for some reason the Eagles couldn't do it. This is why I don't trust the Eagles. Their coaching stinks, and I don't think their quarterback is all that great. But we can keep going here. Next game up here, Jets 26, Dolphins 32. This game went to overtime. This game almost gave me a heart attack. The Dolphins always make things harder than it needs to be. I will say that. Shout out to Malik Washington, who is truly the savior of this game. Jets score late to go ahead, and Malik Washington had a big kick return. Again, something that if we had Braxton Berrios still back there, it would have been a fair catch, it would have been whatever, but Malik Washington tries to make plays. Obviously, that game against the Packers, it bit him in the ass, and he muffed that punt, but I appreciate people who are willing to make explosive plays and try stuff instead of just all fair catch, we'll get at the 30, because if he doesn't do that, we don't get into field goal range. Jason Sanders does not hit that kick, and we don't go to overtime where the Dolphins finally discovered, we have Jonnu Smith. Maybe we should use him, who didn't have a single catch the entire game up until overtime. And then in that overtime period, He had 3 catches for 44 yards and that game-winning touchdown. Either way, a lot to unpack here. We'll start off with the good because I am talking about it. Tua has been, since he has come back from his concussion, he has been playing very, very good football. And I don't care what people say, oh, it's garbage time stats, oh, he's just stat padding. First of all, it's not garbage time stats when you come back to win the game. Like, that doesn't count. Shut the fuck up. But Tua, I think, in the last 4 weeks is first in touchdowns, no interceptions. I think he's first or second in yards, first in completion percentage. Right now, he is right on track to maybe beat the all-time record in completion percentage mark held by Drew Brees, which is, I think, 74% completion percentage. Tua still has like a lot. He has a ton of critics out there, and again, there's a lot of reasons to criticize him, but he's playing really good football. And if you can't say that he's playing really good football, you're a hater, you're blind, it's fine. But he's in that crop of QBs with Goff, with Purdy, with Jalen Hurts, with Jordan Love. He's in that tier of guys. He's a very good quarterback. He is not an elite quarterback. He has a lot to prove if he wants to get put in that category, but he's playing really good football. It's as simple as that. But again, the offense makes it hard sometimes. Our run game, it is almost impossible to gain 1 yard of football or 1 yard in the red zone. There was a penalty. We went for it. We ran the ball 3 times on the one. We couldn't get a single yard. We got stuffed a couple times. Lucky the Jets have a penalty. And then we finally score. The way too many screen passes are getting called. It's things. The Dolphins make things way too hard on themselves a lot of the time, and I think that when we're fully cooking, it's a good team. It is what it is, but the offense makes things way too tough sometimes when it should be much, much easier. Again, the fact that we didn't use Jonnu Smith, who's been one of our best weapons over the last month, 2 months of football, doesn't make any sense to me. Again, it took until the 5th quarter of this game to finally use one of our best weapons. I don't really understand it. Other side of the ball here, the defense, if your name isn't Zach Sealer, Chop Robinson, Jalen Ramsey, get off my football team. The lack of effort on plays, the lack of tackling and missed tackled opportunities and bad angles, it's so bad. It is incredibly bad, and a lot of people want Anthony Weaver fired. I don't. I want to have the same defensive coordinator for the second consecutive season. We have not had that. Every year of Mike McDaniel has been a different DC. I think Weaver is a good defense coordinator. There's just not a lot of guys who show compete. I didn't add Calais Campbell to that list of guys too, just because he's old and I don't think he's going to be on the team next year anyways. But everyone else, it's not in view here, but there's a picture of Javon Holland on my gallery wall where Javon Holland's one of my favorite players. And I thought he was one of the better safeties coming into the league this year, and I don't know what's happened. He's just not playing good football, and maybe this falls into our favor because I thought, we're not going to re-sign him. He's going to go somewhere because someone's going to give him a bag. No one's going to give that man a bag at this point. And that's not only the shout out Javon, or shout out or call out Holland. There's so many, so many lack of effort plays on the defense where at some point you can't blame the coaches. It's the players. And this defense sucks. Our defense just flat out is not good. Aaron Rodgers had his first 300-yard game in nearly 3 years against us. Garrett Wilson looked awesome. Devontae Adams had a touchdown. A guy named Isaiah Adams was running all over us. Not pretty defensive football from the Dolphins, but the offense made their plays when it mattered. Happy we won the game. We'll see against the Texans on Sunday. That should be a fun one. But Jets on the other side. The Jets have now been eliminated from the playoffs for the 14th straight season, longest streak in all major professional North American sports. The Jets are the Jets. The Jets should have won this game. I'll just flat out say that. They should have won this game. Too many bad opportunities, bad penalties, mistimed things, again. But the Jets are going to Jet at the end of the day. Don't really have a lot to say. Like, Garrett Wilson is awesome. He had a very good game. But yeah, now Jets, it's like, hey, you've been eliminated from the playoffs, but if you want to see more of your quarterback, you can head over to Netflix to see your 40-year-old quarterback smoke drugs in a cabin. If you want to do that for fun, yeah. The Jets are the Jets. And we can keep going here. Next game up. Seahawks 30, Cardinals 18. The Seahawks run game and defense came alive in this one. After having basically a bad run game in the offensive line, not being able to run block for basically the entire season, Kenneth Walker misses this one because of injury, and all of a sudden it's like, they know how to block now. Zach Charbonnet, huge game for them. 22 carries, 134 yards, 6.1 average, 2 TDs on the day. Also added 7 catches for 59 yards. Yeah, the run game was great. The offense, again, looked pretty good. Jackson Smith-Njigba has taken over that Tyler Lockett role in the slot very nicely. 5 catches, 82 yards, and a TD. I think I've talked about the Jackson Smith-Njigba breakout already, but I think he's now the wide receiver or top 5 fantasy wide receiver right now in the league. So shout out to him. But really, this defense has been great these last few weeks, and a big reason for it is the addition of linebacker Ernest Jones, who the Rams traded to the Titans, and then the Titans traded to the Seahawks once they were kind of just done with the season. But he has a big interception in this one. He's also just such a good run defender, and he has been a huge part of why this Seahawks defense has kind of had their little bit of a turnaround. And the Seahawks team is playing well. This has been, again, they have been up and down for most of the season, but it looks like things are finally clicking, at least on defense anyways. The offense still has some things to be desired, in my opinion, but Mike McDonald has the defense playing very, very well, and that's kind of all you can ask for. Cardinals on the other side, Kyler just kind of wasn't good enough. 2 interceptions from him in this one. The run game was going, but that was kind of the only thing that was working for the Cardinals. And again, their defense just doesn't have the dudes. I think that's very fair to say. And the Cardinals, again, I think the Cardinals don't have a good team. They have been overperforming based off how good I think their roster actually is. But that's just kind of a credit to coaching, in my opinion. But again, you can see the positive momentum that the Cardinals are going to bring into the offseason and going into next year. And I'm talking about the Cardinals are dead. The Cardinals are 1 game out now of that division lead. Obviously, the Seahawks now leading that division. I think that's right. They might be 2 games behind, but I don't think so. They are 2 games behind. They are now at 6-7. Yeah, Cardinals having a good season, but I think that, again, they have been overperforming for most of the year. I think this is just kind of, they're leveling off at this point. I'd love to see Marvin Harrison do a little bit more, especially as a Marvin Harrison fantasy owner, and especially as a guy who doesn't want to go to Sudbury, because that is my fantasy football punishment. Take a picture with the big nickel. I was like, this will be a funny one. I'm not going to lose, and now I am in the losers bracket. I think my team is really good. I've had very bad luck and injury luck and whatever, but I should be good enough to not lose. We will see. But we will keep going. We will keep going here. Next game up. we have the Bills and the Rams. Bills 42, Rams 44. Matt Stafford, even at his age, is still the best QB in the NFC. And I think he's the best QB in the NFC by quite a bit. When he still had like his arm talent when he was drafted out of Georgia all the way in, when was that, 2008? Like it was incredible arm. He still has that arm talent almost 2 decades later, and he's still playing incredible football. 23 of 30 in this one, 320 yards, 2 passing TDs. Puka Nacua obviously deserves a lot of credit in this one. 12 catches, 162 yards, and a touchdown. Also added 16 rush yards and a TD as well. When this Rams offense is cooking, they are incredibly hard to stop. Because if it's not Puka Nacua, it's Cooper Kupp. If it's not Cooper Kupp, it's Kyron Williams. And then they got Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell. Blake Corum's getting involved a little bit now. So I was going to say Colby Parkinson, but not really. The Rams offense is very, very tough to stop. And shout out to the Bills for trying, I guess, but not good enough, obviously. But yeah, Stafford deserves so much credit. He has had an unbelievable career. Should be a Hall of Famer. He's in my Hall of Very Good already. I'm 90% sure, but I think he's had a Hall of Fame career. I think that last Super Bowl has elevated him to get into the Hall of Fame, and the fact that he's still playing really good football and really has no signs of slowing down. I thought his injury a couple years ago was going to be the catalyst that, again, father time catches up with everyone, but hasn't caught up with Matt Stafford yet. Bills on the other side. Teams that have scored 6 touchdowns and have had 0 turnovers were 245-0 before this one. Now the Bills are that lone loss. It's also kind of a misleading stat because they did have a blocked punt run back for a touchdown, but it's not like an offensive turnover, I guess, but whatever. Was good. I talked about the MVP a little bit with Sam Darnold, and I said I'm going to bring it up again when we talk about this Bills game and Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the MVP. 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, the only player to ever do that in NFL history. He was 22 of 37, 342 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Then he had 82 yards rushing and 3 rushing touchdowns. The man is incredible. It's weird to say that he is my favorite quarterback, but he is my favorite quarterback. The things he does, the things he does. Yeah, okay, no, that's grammatically right. Yeah, the things he does on a football. I keep wanting to say the things he does, but that's definitely not right. But what he does on a football field is incredible. He absolutely deserves to win MVP, and this is a Bills team that going into the year, they were third. They were the third team they were ranked third in the division, or like in odds anyways. Again, I'm saying this terribly, but no one gave them a lot of credit. They were like, this is going to be the downfall of Josh Allen. He doesn't have Stephon Diggs, and he has elevated this team, and his play has been, again, far, far better than it's been in any other year so far. He's playing great football. That's basically all I am trying to say. And another crazy Josh Allen stat is he has more rushing TDs right now in his career than Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, and Alvin Kamara. Josh Allen, more rushing TDs than all of those guys. Again, not many times that you lose a game and your odds go up for MVP, but that's exactly what happened, and Josh Allen is playing great football. Obviously, they would have liked to win to secure or try to stay as the 1 seed in the... Actually, would they have still been? No, they're 10-3 now. But to stay pace with the Chiefs for that 1 seed, because that That home field advantage is going to be very, very key in these playoffs. But shout out Josh Allen. Shout out to Khalil Shakir. He had a hell of a game. Shout out to Amari Cooper. He had a great game. I'm very interested when Keon Coleman comes back, how that passing attack works when Kincaid comes back. The Bills are just getting going. Obviously, they got to fix a little bit of things on defense. Can't be allowing 40 points a game, but this Bills offense can absolutely cook anyone. We can keep going here. Bears 13, 49ers 38. A huge bounce back win for the 49ers. George Kittle, huge game for this one. 6 catches, 151 yards. Brock Purdy was awesome. 20 of 25 for 325 and 2 passing touchdowns. No CMC, no Jordan Mason. Doesn't matter. Isaac Guerrero, one of my favorite guys from this past draft. 15 carries, 78 yards, and 2 TDs. Also added 2 catches for 50 yards. And then he leaves with an injury. It was a foot sprain. I think he's good to go, hopefully, for next week. But then Patrick Taylor comes in, and he rushes for a TD. The Bears could not do anything. And I was talking about on Friday's episode of being like, this is the interim head coaching bump. Thomas More. I don't think that the interim head coaching bump works when you've already been promoted already and you were the interim OC, and then when you become the interim OC into the interim head coach. I don't think that the bump works like that. So something to put into the notes for later, I guess. But the Niners absolutely needed to win this one to have any chance to make the wild card, maybe still win the division. The door is still open for them. A lot needs to happen for them to get into the playoffs, but it is still there. Jawan Jennings, also great game. 7 catches, 90 yards, 2 TDs. The defense obviously played great. Leonard Floyd, 2 sacks in this one. Yetur Gross-Matos, 3 sacks. But another takeaway from this game is Deebo Samuel complaining that, he's not washed. He just doesn't get the ball anymore. Complaining about not being used when he has the most touches of any Niners skill player this year. Not saying Deebo's washed, but I think Deebo is washed. He had that terrific, 2020 season, I think. And he's still a good player, but he's a gimmick. He's a gadget player. He is not someone who is a focal point on anyone's offense. And for him to complain after like a big team win, a big morale boosting win, and to be like, I don't get the ball enough. Like, he's going to be cut or he's a free agent in the offseason, but if I'm John Lynch, that just makes it so much easier to not bring that guy back on my team when he's complaining after a massive win to still keep them in the hunt for playoffs. Bears on the other side. 4 total yards in the first half. That's not a typo. That's not a mistake. 4 total yards in the first half. That is the lowest mark in a half since 2000. I don't really know what to say from the Bears. I was hoping that, again, the interim head coaching bump obviously did not happen. But the Bears, again, there's a lot wrong. I think it's a talented team, but it's a talented team like the same way like I think the Jets are a talented team. Coaching matters so much in this league, and the Bears just don't have any coaching. Thomas More, I think, again, he is in over his head at this point as head coach, which may be unfair to say after a single game, but when you go from the running backs coach to interim OC to interim head coach, like no one was planning for this. No one was expecting this. He definitely wasn't expecting this, but embarrassing performance by the Bears on literally every single level. Shout out to Rome Odunze, I guess. I'm pretty sure he had a good game in this one. What did he have? 4 catches, 42 yards, 2 TDs. I think Rome Odunze is like going to be turned into like a very solid receiver next year for the Bears, but at this point. It is what it is. DeAndre Swift also just sucks. He is not a good running back. He should not be getting the bulk of your carries in any single backfield, but what do I know? I'm not an NFL coach, but we will keep going here. Final game, Sunday Night Football, Chargers 17, Chiefs 19. The Chiefs' Black Magic prevails again. It really doesn't matter. It truly does not matter. I think the Chiefs have not covered the spread in their last 7 games, yet they have won, or I think last 6 games, but they have won all of those games. They are 11-0 in one-score games this season. They really don't even have an impressive win on the year, but it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. They are a playoff-ready team, and if you have to play like perfect, mistake-free football to beat the Chiefs, it's tough. And I do think there is a switch to be flipped for the Chiefs at some point. I'm just assuming it's going to come playoff time, but I guess we will find out soon enough. But I'm not doubting the Chiefs. They're still really good. They're not playing great, but I know that this is a really good football team. And yeah, the way this game ended, Chiefs get into field goal range. They milk the clock all the way down. Timeout, 1 second. And then I think Matthew Wright, or is it Spencer Schrader? I forget who their kicker is now that Harrison Butker is hurt. But yeah, doink, right off the upright, but it goes in. Chiefs win. Yeah, again, it's really not much to like write home about. The Chiefs, they win in unspectacular ways every single week, but they win every single week. So I don't really care. I think that switch will flip come playoff time, and then we will truly see what happens. But right now they are 12-1. 12-1 sounds right. They are the 1 seed, firmly the 1 seed right now in the AFC playoffs. Going into Arrowhead during the winter for any team in the playoffs is going to be very, very tough. But I guess we'll see. Chargers on the other side. The defense played fine. The defense played well enough. But this Chargers offense is just meh. It's just so whatever at this point. Lad McConkey was a late inactive in this one, so he didn't play. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins is on IR, so it was Gus Edwards and Kamani Vidal. Like, you can't win games when Gus Edwards and Josh Palmer are your, like, 2 big weapons on the team. Yeah. The Chargers are fine. The Chargers are a good football team, but like I think they did play a few weeks ago, but like if the Chargers and the Bengals played again, I would not be shocked if the Bengals beat them because the Bengals can score a lot of points. I don't know. The Chargers are just so whatever at this point. They're going to make the playoffs. They might not make the playoffs. I don't even know. They have that. It's them and the Broncos. They play each other one more time. The Chargers have the Bucks this week. I think the Bucks might honestly beat them. We'll see though. I don't know. I'm not high on the Chargers. When have I ever been high on the Chargers? But I don't know. I'm not high on the Chargers, but that'll do it. That is the Week 14 recap. Yeah. So that does it. A little bit of a nugget for Friday's show. I am starting this new thing where at the end of... I'll do them on Friday's episodes, and then I'll do them in the off-season when I go back to 1 show a week. I'll just do it every episode, but I'm kind of just going to do one random player in NFL history, someone who's interesting in one way or another, guys who we don't really know or have never really heard of. So Friday's episode, I will be talking about Alan Page, who will probably be one of the more notable guys who I do talk about, one of my favorite players of all time, but Alan Page will be the one NFL player from history guy that I talk about. It's just another thing to clip out, and I think it's a fun thing to kind of go down a little rabbit hole. about some pretty cool people who we don't really get to hear from in NFL circles anymore. But yeah, that's the episode. As always, if you've liked it, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, tell all your friends, and all that fun stuff. And until next time, peace.